Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating historical narrative, one that revolves around a figure praised directly by Allah for his immense patience, unshakable integrity, and sheer steadfastness. We are looking at the incredible legacy of Prophet Dhul-Kifl, peace be upon him. You know, when we talk about the history of the prophets, it's super easy to get caught up in the grand visual miracles, right? The parting of seas, healing the blind. But the story of Dhul-Kifl, it's an absolute masterpiece in the quiet, underlying power of psychological endurance. It perfectly illustrates how real strength is often found in remaining perfectly calm when literally everything around you is designed to make you break.
His legacy is immortalized so perfectly in Surah Al-Anbiya, verses 85 and 86. The text specifically groups Dhul-Kifl alongside absolute giants of patience like Ishmael and Idris. It plainly states that all were of the patient and that they were admitted into divine mercy. This really establishes the foundational pillar of his whole identity. He wasn't just a good guy. His defining characteristic, the core reason he was enveloped in this divine mercy as a righteous individual, was his phenomenal, deeply tested patience.
And this praise doesn't just happen once. He's mentioned again in Surah Sad, verse 48, right alongside Ishmael and Elisha, who's known in Arabic as Al-Yasa. The Quran flat out declares that all are among the outstanding, meaning the absolute best of people. Now, whenever a historical figure is elevated to that kind of prestigious rank in a definitive text, it immediately begs the question, right? What exactly did they do? What monumental test did they pass to earn that specific, eternal recognition? Well, the answer actually starts with his very name.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the etymology behind his title. Dhul-Kifl wasn't actually his birth name at all. It was an earned title. In Arabic, the word kifl translates literally to a portion or a guarantor. According to the scholars of Tafsir, he was given this title because he took on a massive, heavy guarantee. He voluntarily took full responsibility for the affairs of his people, promising to administer justice and uphold worship. And he executed this colossal undertaking flawlessly. So he was, quite literally, the possessor of the guarantee. We can connect the meaning of his name directly back to the historical context provided in the hadith traditions. There's this narration from at-Tirmidhi reported by Abu Huraira that describes a man in Bani Israel who was extremely truthful in his promises and righteousness. His entire reputation was built on honoring his word. When he made a promise, no matter how ridiculously difficult the circumstances became, he fulfilled it. This wasn't just some casual commitment. This was a fundamental character trait that perfectly set the stage for the absolute greatest trial of his life.
So, to really understand that trial, we have to look at the historical narrative detailed in Tafsir Ibn Kathir. The story actually kicks off with another prominent figure, Prophet Al-Yasa, or Elisha. Now, Prophet Al-Yasa was reaching an advanced age, he was becoming physically weak, and he realized he desperately needed to appoint a caliph, a successor to lead the Bani Israel after him. But here's the catch. He didn't just want a popular leader, he needed someone with ironclad spiritual and emotional fortitude. Let's see how this really builds the tension of the narrative. Prophet Al-Yasa gathered his people and laid out 3 intense, incredibly high-stakes conditions for anyone who wanted to take on this leadership role. First, fast every single day. Second, spend the entire night in prayer. And third, which is definitely the hardest of them all, never ever get angry. I mean, imagine being in that scene. The crowd is presented with these overwhelming, frankly superhuman demands. And the response? Complete and utter silence. Crickets. Literally no one dared to step forward. But then, out of that heavy, super intimidating silence, a seemingly simple, unassuming, and outwardly weak man stood up. He looked right at the aging prophet and simply said, "I take this responsibility." That man was Dhul-Kifl. He was making the ultimate guarantee. He was pledging to starve his body by day, completely deprive his body of sleep by night, and somehow maintain flawless emotional control to judge his people without a single ounce of anger. And this brings us to the brilliantly executed psychological warfare that followed. Enter Shaitan, Satan. When Shaitan realized this guy had taken on this impossible guarantee, he was determined to make him break it, and he specifically targeted his anger. Because Dhul-Kifl fasted all day and prayed all night, his only time to sleep was a short afternoon nap, the Qailula. And let's be real here, we all know how precious a nap is, especially when you're running on absolutely empty. So on day 1, right at that desperate moment of rest, Shaitan disguises himself as a needy, oppressed old man. He knocks on the door and just launched into this long, rambling, completely aimless complaint about being wronged. He dragged the conversation out until Dhul-Kifl's entire rest period was gone. Dhul-Kifl just kept his cool, told the man to come to the court that evening. But the man didn't show up. Day 2, exact same time. The agonizing exhaustion is really building now. The old man returns, repeats the exact same tactic, completely draining the prophet's only moment of rest, heavily testing that pledge of zero anger. And yet again, Dhul-Kifl remains perfectly, unbelievably calm.
So the crucial turning point is what happens on the 3rd day. By day 3, the physical exhaustion must have been off the charts. This time, the doors were locked so Dhul-Kifl could finally sleep. But Shaitan wouldn't give up. He actually snuck into the house through a hole in the wall. Dhul-Kifl wakes up, sees this intruder who somehow bypassed locked doors, and in a total flash of clarity, he recognizes exactly who he's dealing with. He identifies the intruder not as some annoying old man, but as Iblis himself, the enemy of Allah. Caught and totally exposed, Shaitan is completely defeated. He admits absolute failure. Because despite the intense hunger, the brutal sleep deprivation, and the highly calculated psychological annoyance, he could not provoke a single spark of anger. Dhul-Kifl kept his guarantee. Distilling this incredible narrative from the Tafsir and Hadith, we find some really profound core moral lessons. First off, true power isn't about physical dominance. A believer's real, actual strength lies in their patience and their character. Second, as the Quranic verses remind us, Allah is always with the patient. Steadfastness during your hardest, most exhausting trials is the literal key to success. And finally, treating your responsibilities as a sacred trust and honoring your promises, no matter the personal cost, is the true sunnah of the prophets. Let's bring this right down to our own daily lives. Ask yourself, how do you handle your own anger and responsibilities? Look, we aren't being asked to lead entire nations or give up all our sleep, but we are tested every single day. When you're tired, when you're hungry, when someone deliberately pushes your buttons or interrupts your precious downtime, do you snap? Do you let the frustration win? Or do you hold on to your own personal guarantees? Dhul-Kifl's story proves that emotional regulation is a choice, and it's a choice that elevates you in the eyes of the divine.
If you found value in this deep dive today, take a quick moment to engage with this explainer. Like it and share this incredible story of patience with someone who might just need a reminder of their own strength today. And make sure to hit that subscribe button for Animated Quranic Tales so you never miss our next historical narrative. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. If the ultimate test of leadership is the absolute mastery of one's own anger, how differently would our world look today if every leader made the exact same guarantee as Dhul-Kifl? Think about it. Until next time, stay curious and stay patient.